which programming languages are laboring under the longest lifespans? Who are the losers here?
So we're looking at a little over 500,000 pull requests. That's the data set that we have chosen for this research, and focused on pull requests that are pretty much just a single language in that pull request. Some in some code bases you get a mix, so we focus on the ones that we have a clear signal on. The number one more laborious language is C++. In C++, we see a typical pull request takes like almost a week or a little over a week, 140 hours. This elapsed time from the minute you create the PR until it got merged. And that is a very long cycle. That means that, there is something here about reviewing C++ code that made this so much higher than the common thing we see across all languages is about 40 to 50 hours of elapsed time. So that's
Still a lot.
almost 2 days to get a PR merged, as a typical across everything. This is about 3 or 3.5 times as much for C++. So it's a
And this is
very,
based on a study of 600,000 plus pull requests, correct?
yes, that's right.
Wow.
Thousands of teams, tens of thousands of developers. And C++ stands out pretty nicely here with almost like 3.5x the typical case.
Yeah, because I saw Ruby was second with 95 hours approximately, but that's a
Right.
huge jump up to C++.
Yeah, so C++ is like up there on the pedestal. And then and then Ruby comes in second with about 95 hours as a typical lifespan for a pull request, which is still a lot and is still almost more than double the common case. And it's strange because C++ is a statically typed language that gets compiled. It's very explicit in its nature. And then Ruby is a dynamic language. It's interpreted. It's much more like Python in the, you have people think about typed languages and untyped languages, compiled versus dynamic, interpreted. Ruby is on the other side from C++. But I think, I come from the Python camp, and we tend to say that Python is very easy to read, very easy to parse with your eyes, understand what's going on. And Ruby is very expressive, but also very hard to read. And there's just like 3 different ways to do things. And you get all these weird expressions that, do magic, but they're also very hard to understand in a glance.
You need a lot of context. Yeah.
At least that's what the Ruby, the camp that doesn't buy into Ruby says. At least the data shows that there's something in it. That
Interesting.
Ruby, again, stands pretty high. This is the second longest lifespan we're seeing. And apparently there's something that is, making review and decisions to merge Ruby code more difficult and take longer than everything else except C++.
What's the drop off to that like third place as far as longest lifespans?
So at the third place, we see Groovy, and that's about 50 hours. So that's already pretty much in the middle pack. There's like,
so there's just like 2 huge outliers, it seems like.
yeah, C++ and Ruby are way out there. And then there is like 50 or 40 to 50 hours, in which you see Groovy, and then you see C, in Scala and Go, Python, Kotlin. These are all around, roughly 40 hours as a typical lifespan for a PR. And yeah, C is down there with 45 hours. C++ is 140. The languages are similar, but C++ has the additional complexity, the object-oriented, the classes. Maybe that explains part of that difference. But I would say this middle pack that runs about 40 to 45 to up to 50 hours as a typical lifespan, these are all the main languages that we know, including Python, Go, and so on.
And then I saw, TypeScript hit 30 hours, Swift hit 35. So you're starting to see some like drop down as far as like lowering cycle times, lowering the workflow time and improving efficiency there. But what are the top shortest lifespans? Let's go to the other end of the chart. who are the folks who get to brag like, hey, we really nailed our workflow efficiency?
So there's a couple on the like very low end that I'm going to skip for now because they're not real languages for me, like SQL. When you have just SQL,
Called out. Yeah.
yeah. So SQL obviously is like a specific domain language. It's not a full programming languages.
Yeah.
When you have pull requests that only change queries, only change SQL, then these come in at about 15 hours to review.
A lot of looks good to me.
Yeah, that's a lot lower, but it kind of makes sense because when you only see changes in SQL, that's typically a very limited scope of change. It's not it's just about structuring a data query. It's not about a change in logic and
Right.
order of execution. So I think it makes sense to remove that. But Java also comes in at 15 hours. And Java is a heavy language. It's, again, statically typed, compiled.
That really surprises me.
It does. And next to Java, we have C# with 16 hours. So Java and C# are of the same kind, if you like. And they're similar to C++ in many ways. They're also different in many ways. So it's surprising to see them at the other end. So
C++ is all the way at 140 hours and Java's at 15.
10 times, like the typical, about 10 times longer for the PR to get reviewed and merged than we see with Java and C#. So, despite being a bit more verbose and having some maybe additional perceived heaviness, at least Java and C# are way down there at the faster languages to review and faster and easier to get merged. Maybe people are not reviewing and are saying, okay, I can't read this, all these long class names. I'm going to just LGTM it.
Yeah.
But, joking aside, something is happening right with these languages. It also helps that, languages are compiled. You get a lot of the errors up front. Maybe that helps with the reviewers don't have to think about these things as maybe they need to with dynamic languages. But yeah, that's the data we're seeing. So Java and C# are the main signals on the very best in terms of the lifespan.